to introduce our speakers for the day. First, we have Deputy Director Vic Narousis. He's with the Office of Business Development with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. We also have David Pearson with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and he is the Site Selection Coordinator for Illinois. And our third speaker is Amy White, and she teaches Location 1 Information Systems, LOIS, in multiple state online sources. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the program over to our speakers for today, and thank you very much for attending.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Victor Narousis. As mentioned, I'm the Deputy Director for Business Development here at the Department of Commerce. The Business Development Office is the office that oversees most of the incentives that you and most of the businesses that would seek that relate to economic development. I also have responsibility for the Regional Economic Development Team, Team Red, the 10 regional economic regions throughout the state and the people that are responsible for those. And newly added, foreign direct investment responsibilities. So we're trying to bring things together in-house here that seem to work naturally and best, and we're excited to present today our little bit of an overview of LOIS and how important it is to us at the state. We've had it a number of years, obviously, but we're going to rely on it much more heavily than we have in the past. So, Amy, if you could go on to slide 3, please. What is LOIS? You're going to hear a lot more about it, but it's basically a searchable database to help identify properties, provide detailed information about sites, and it's got GIS enhanced site database capabilities as well. And it's used by states and EDOs, all sorts of entities throughout the country. And it has many great features in addition just to being a database. It provides great ESRI, ESRI, demographic reports and information as well that if you're not familiar with, I think you'll find very valuable. Why LOIS for Illinois? Well, it's historically we have, every time a site selection inquiry has come in, Dave has worked with the site selector to try to identify the parameters that company is actually seeking in a site. You'd actually be amazed how sometimes we don't get a whole lot of detail and we never have enough time, and so trying to sort through those details and understand what really those site parameters are does take time. And then in addition to that, we're going out and we're trying to find the sites by making phone calls and really doing ad hoc searches every time. Dave does look at LOIS. Dave also does use other databases, but we need to focus our activities on helping you and your community market the property rather than trying to find the property. And that's where LOIS comes in for us. It's looking to the communities to help ensure that that information is populated in a way that allows us to gather properties that site selectors and companies are typically asking us for. And so by refocusing our efforts from trying to find properties to trying to help you market the properties is really our goal. We think we can be much more successful that way. The other very important part of LOIS is LOIS has a standard RFI response format that the site selectors really like. The folks at Location 1 have done a great job of putting that together, and we need to use that consistently. And so by having the properties in the database, we're able to generate that report in a way that the site selectors find easy to use. And if the site selectors find it easy to use, we believe that our ability to attract businesses here to Illinois and your communities is going to be much more successful. So, Amy, that was also a bit of slide 4 overview. I apologize for not mentioning that, if you just want to put that up briefly. So kind of the rationale why we think this is important. If you could go on to slide 5, please. What are the listing criteria that we're really seeking to focus on here in LOIS. So there is on slide 5 an overview of what those are for buildings. So they're 20,000 square feet, built after 1966. The property information must be kept current, no more than 18 months. The printable brochure fields all must be completed. That is of critical importance. Without that, we don't have the ability to present a property to its fullest extent and make sure we're getting the site selectors good information. If we get site selectors crummy information, they're going to stop asking us. So it's important for us to work together to make sure that for those properties you select that you would like to have participate in this, all those fields are completed. And the typical type of buildings, the typical stuff, right? The flex tech, industrial office, R&D, warehouse and distribution, that type. Amy, if you could move on to slide 6.
Nancy.
The sites, typically 15 acres or more, again, updated in the last 18 months. All that printable brochure field information is completed, and typical zoning is listed there, what you, I think, would expect to see. If we could move on to slide 7. So a sample RFI, here's a lot of times what we might see in a typical sort of request for information about a property, right? The size, the type, how much office, zoning, acreage, ceiling height, and so forth. So if we move on to slide 8, so what a sample RFI response might look like, typically down the left, there are the property requirements, and then across the top, there are each of the sites that meet those criteria. The key to this is, rather than sending the site selectors all of your brochures, which we will do, we give them a very nice summary of how all the properties compare to one another, and they can make their comparisons much more efficiently and easy. And then once they identify the properties that best fit their criteria, they can go and look at that detail. So in a very brief period of time, if you could go on to slide, the final slide we have here, slide 9. Obviously, the LOIS website for Illinois. We look forward to working with you on this closely. It has something that actually has been implemented for the most part south of I-80 with our utility partner Ameren. We're looking to do this now completely north of 80. We understand that Metropolitan Chicago has got a great number of properties, and it's a little more challenging possibly to use this. But certainly north of I-80 and outside of Metropolitan Chicago, we view this as a very valuable tool, and we want to capture all those properties now as well. So with that, I'd just like to briefly introduce Dave Pearson, who, again, manages our site selection process and inquiries as they come in. Just like to have Dave say a few brief words before we move it along over to Amy.
Thank you, Vic. This is Dave Pearson. So I've been responsible for, as Vic mentioned, site selection coordination statewide for some time, and I look forward to continuing to have contact with many of you in the months, weeks ahead. And if you have questions about LOIS, getting access to it, please contact me. I can get you the user access, the ID and password. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
That's it.
So Amy White, that teaches LOIS, is on next from Kansas City, I believe. Amy?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you for
attending. This is Amy White. Yes. And are you able to see my screen okay? I have a PowerPoint up at the moment. Just checking that everybody's able to see my screen. I'm not getting any feedback.
Not yet. I don't see anything yet, Amy.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to the. Oh, I had to do one more step. I had to confirm I'm presenting. So we'll go back here. All right. So once again, this is Amy White with Location One. You should now be able to see my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you for inviting us today.
Amy, lost your audio.
Okay.
There you
it
go.
sounds like somebody just muted me. Okay.
You're back.
All right, thank you. I got a message that I was muted, but please speak up if you can't hear me. I manage customer service for Location One. So you'll see a screen here, just a quick shot of Lisa Franklin and myself. Lisa and I have been working with Location One for, I've been with the company about 10 years. But just to give you a little bit background on Location One, it was developed about 15 years ago by a small group of economic development professionals within a utility. At that time, when they created it just for themselves and they realized the value to their communities and started providing it to them, and then realized throughout the U.S. The value to communities. So we now market it to state levels, all different levels of ED professionals throughout local, county, regional, and then even utilities. We are still owned by a utility, KCP&L. They are committed to supporting Location One and developing Location One. We're actually in the middle of a very large investment project where we are redesigning the public viewer and admin site. We're doing a responsive website with pre-populated community data. I'm going to show you a couple screenshots right at the end of the presentation, and we're expected to release that in Q2 of next year. But just to give you a little feedback, like Dave and Vic said, Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, they've been a subscriber of Location One for many years. They have an umbrella subscription that allows any regional, county, or local economic development organization to use LOIS at no charge. This is really a valuable tool to all the communities and county regional organizations because it is saving those organizations thousands of dollars, but by not having to go out and purchase your own subscription. And here's just a little shot, a diagram we like to provide. So basically, once a building or site is entered into Location One, if that community is included in your LOIS account, no matter if you're at county, regional, utility, state, or even our national viewer, once that building's in there and a change is made, it's reflected on all those viewers and then our mobile app. So we always like to point out the importance of getting that property in there and just the value of getting it out there. Here's a little brief overview of our agenda. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to try and go over, really focus on the public viewer today, and then I'll just briefly get into the data administration website where you add your properties and community data, and give you a couple screenshots of that new responsive Location One coming out in the spring. So for today, we normally, if you've attended LOIS trainings before, we like to provide live training. So I'm going to switch over to a couple of live viewers. So today, if you are seeing Location One for the first time, thank you for joining. Or if this is just a refresher, thanks for attending. And I'm always available. I'll show you my phone number and our email at the end of the training because after today, we don't let you just go on your own. You're always welcome to call us. I know Dave, he helps out a lot too at the state, but feel free to contact Location One directly because we are here to continue to support the state, regional, county, and local economic development organizations. So I'm just going to switch over to my public viewer. All right, so I have opened up, and normally for these trainings, I don't focus on viewers within your state because people kind of get involved in what product or properties are listed there. So I am actually looking at a county organization down in Kansas. So I have opened up their Location One viewer. So the Location One viewer, you'll see it starts right above the Building Sites Community Profiles tab. They've got it integrated nicely onto a frame in their website. But due to time, I'm just going to go around the map, and Dave provided me a list of things we'd like to review, so I'm going to get through these as quickly as possible. I'll try to pause to see if there's questions and at the end, and of course I can always follow up with answering questions after today's training. So once you are in location 1, this is a public viewer where you can go search for your properties, the state can look, also the site selectors will go. So everybody's viewers look the same, it's just what communities are included in your viewer. By default, we have the property search here. I just opened it by clicking on the property search tab. By default, buildings is selected, but you can switch over to sites. And then we've added recently the both, searching for both buildings and sites. We have the basic search fields in here. If your site selector or your prospect is looking for specific information, you can add that in here to narrow down your search results. We also have the basic for sale or lease, or if you'd like both. Now the next 3 options, these are drop downs, and these are only going to display the options that are listed in your property. So for example, if you do not have Flex Tech in any of your buildings, this would not display. Same with specialty feature. They only have an underground specialty feature property, so that's all that displays for their area. And then of course zoning. You can search for properties. If you know part of their address, you can put that address in the field. If you are looking for maybe just certain properties within counties or specific localities. Now this is just a 1-county viewer, but definitely if you are involved in more counties or communities, those would all display here. And you have the option of selecting more by clicking on the escape or the control and selecting more than one. By default, we list the properties. If it's buildings, they're in order by square footage or by acres. If you're in the site, you can change that sort results. You can change it so it's not in descending order. But one of the nice things I like about this tool is, of course, you can put your criteria in here, but you can actually, we have this drawing tool where if you know this prospect wants to be in a certain area, you can actually draw it on the map. And so I chose an ellipse drawing, and I'll just kind of go around this area. So once you've drawn the area, if you added search criteria, I didn't get a very good one here, but what would happen is that once you made the drawing, if there's properties within that drawing, it would only display those. And then display those on the map, and then below each one listed below the map. And once again, that's underneath the property search, and then the search by area where you can actually draw. Now the last thing in the property search is measuring distance. We also have this located below the map too. But this is just a really nice tool. If you need to, if you've done some stuff on the map, I'll kind of zoom in here a little ways. If you need to know how far a property is maybe from an intersection or to the freeway, you can actually draw on this map by clicking the measuring distance tool. And what happens when you click on that tool, over on the left here, you can measure by an area, you can measure by the distance, or you can actually pinpoint a location on the map and it'll give you the latitude and longitude. For this one though, I am going to click on distance. So you could zoom in a ways, and for this example, I'll just go next to this, see how far it is from the Interstate 635 here. Once you double click on it, you'll notice in that lower left, it was just less than a mile. So you can really, get very detailed zoom into the map and get some real nice measurements in there. Anytime you're done with that tool, you just go back to the measuring tool and click on clear measurements. So that's the property search tool. I'm not going to go into each one of the sites, but it is the basic features. We just obviously have some different fields in there within the site. The next one is thematic maps. Now these are heat maps, and you'll see I'm going to select median age. And all these tools that I'm showing, this is available for all LOIS users. So once you start using it, it is already loaded for your area. So I clicked on median age. You'll see right now it's at the block group level. So maybe you have a couple properties and you need to find out some details, demographic details. You can actually click on that block group and it will tell you that value. And then at any time, you'll see it's at block group, but if you zoom out and keep zooming out, it'll go to the county, it'll even go to the state level. And that is thematic maps. If you will look over, there's a couple actually active links in there. You can click on those and it will bring over a few more options that you can really drill down into. And you just go back up to none to remove that. Now, the next one is map layers. This is also loaded for your area. We have the basic information in here. For example, I'll click on technical trade schools. And you'll see down here in the lower right, if I zoom out a little bit, it'll put the tech schools in that area. And then you can get details on what those schools are. And while I'm at the map, too, I'll just kind of point out a few things. Let me take that tech schools off. Any map marker on location 1, if you click on it, and this includes for building sites and these map layers, notice it has a Google Street View. And you can actually click on that Google Street View to really see what's going on in that neighborhood. Now this one, it doesn't look like I got a good one here. Sometimes you'll find, and I'll go to a different one, they may have a bad address in there, or the latitude and longitude is not correct, or possibly that the property is located too far off the road, that Google did not capture it. In that case, you can go into the admin site and change those coordinates. And so for the example of this property, here's your Google Street View. And once again, how I did that was just by clicking on that map marker. But another thing I do want to point out in the map layers is the NAICS code search. So if you have somebody coming in and they say they want to be within, a certain type of manufacturer or certain type of business, if you know what that NAICS code is, you can type it all in. If you even know part of that code, you can type it in. And then it will appear as these brown map markers. I'll just zoom out. And then it'll tell you, if you click on that map marker, it will tell you what that business is. And once again, that is the map layers under the NAICS code search. A lot of times we'll see that once people pull up these map markers, that's when they really get into this measuring tool to just see how far away they are. And then to remove those, you just simply go in there and remove that code and hit enter to remove. Now the next one, this is not automatically loaded for all users. You'll notice it says custom layers. Each location 1 user has the ability to upload 10 custom map layers. You actually have the ability to possibly display up to 20. There's a sharing feature that if you really have a lot of layers, I can explain it to you. But you do have 10 layers that are sections that you can add. And for this example, I'm going to, I'll click on their TIF districts. And so they decided what they wanted. These, what you'll see here, it comes in the shape of shapefiles, or if you're familiar with GIS, you know what shapefiles are. I'll be honest, I did not know when we first started, but contact your local GIS rep or department, and they will be able to provide these shapefiles that we can upload through your admin site. So for example, this is their TIF districts that they wanted to highlight. They activated the labels and the colors and the lines of it. But it becomes very helpful when you get a few properties that you're interested in, and if you need to see if maybe it's in the enterprise zone or the TIF district. So I just activated the enterprise zone, and it gets a little crazy when you keep multiple layers on there. But these layers, they can come as area files, they can come as line files, or point files. and that is the custom layers tool. Just going around the map, or before I go down below the map, we always like to point out, besides the property search, if you wanted to switch over to buildings or sites, you can do it in the upper right. I'll point out the community profiles at the end, and then obviously the print icon if you wanted to print the page. Below the map, we obviously have different views. If you want to check that out, that's under the map views. The next one is just the print share feature. If you want to export property or community data, you can do it in this section. If you actually want to add maybe some of those map layers on there, this print feature allows you to print it as a JPEG or a PDF. So besides just printing out the page, it'll put it in those formats. We're at the measuring distance tool, which was also available up in the property search. And then the last one is the My Properties, which I will show in a few moments after we get into the buildings and sites. Before I go into buildings or sites, are there any questions at this time?
If you have a question, you can go ahead and type it in the chat box.
Well, I'm going to go into, I'm switching viewers because I want to go into this view to show more of the details of the properties. And I'm
Amy,
going into,
Amy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I did have a question. Someone was asking what area, line, and point files are.
Okay, yes. So the area, line, and point files. So if you decide that you would like to add any custom layers, for example, the enterprise zone, this is considered an area file. And then the line files, I'm not sure if they have any on here, but the line files, sometimes we'll see people put water lines or sewer lines on here. So then when they create them, that'll be the line file. The point files, let's see if they got any here. Sometimes I guess I've seen a point file. They will put, sorry, my phone was beeping at me. The point files, like for parks, or maybe another area that they want to highlight, and then they'll label it, label the point too on the map. Hope that answers your question. All right. Well, I'm in another public viewer here. This is the utility. So you'll notice I should point out too. They have they put their service territory on here, so that's what you're seeing. So I should point out too, with those custom layers, if you are a regional group or locality that would like to highlight your boundaries on here, we can add that boundary file too. So that would come in the form of shape files that we can load for you. We do provide county boundaries, so those are automatically available in the Location One admin site that we can activate if you choose to just display your county boundaries.
Amy, we had one more question. Someone was inquiring whether all the TIF districts and enterprise zones in Illinois have been downloaded, or only those where the communities have done so, or where the communities have done that input.
Yeah, that would only be, yeah, it's not activated for all Illinois profiles. It's per economic development organization and their own login account, so they get to choose if they want to upload their own. And there was would be responsible for getting those shape files to upload to their account too. Any other questions?
Looks like we have a question here wondering, is LOIS access free to all municipal governments in Illinois?
That is correct. Underneath the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunities, they have an umbrella subscription. Yes, that allows all regional, county, local, the municipalities to use it at no charge. And if you do not have an account set up yet, reach out to Dave Pearson or myself, and we'll get you set up. All right. Well, I'm going to go over next thing I want to go is into the individual property records and also show you the My Properties part that I briefly touched on, which is in the lower right of the map.
And there is one more question, but if you wanted to wait until after you do this, that's okay as well.
No, go ahead.
We have one of our extension educators who is wondering, is there a limit to the number of features a shapefile can have?
I would guess it depends on what type of features they're looking for. Is it more than just an area file or line or point, besides just being able to change or modify the color and line color and the labels? Is pretty much all you can do at this point. And if you'd like to, feel free to give me a call after the training. We can really dig into it and find out what you do or wanting to do. And just also, since we are releasing our new LOIS in the spring, it may be some capabilities that we will be adding then. All right, well, I'm going to just go over into, I'm now in the sites view, and you may be wondering why this user has shovels on here. By default, we show buildings as red map markers and sites as green map markers, but users do have the ability to upload their own custom map markers. So I can point out where that is in location 1, but that's why you're seeing shovels here. Below the map, we do display only 10 properties at a time. Let me go into, you'll see here, I'm in the sites right now, and then it is in the order of acres. One thing I'd like to point out is you'll notice on this second property where I'm kind of highlighting over, this user actually has uploaded a virtual tour, or it's actually, I believe, a drone coverage. So we like to point out to people, if your community has spent the money to create or have drone coverage or the drones inside the properties, there definitely is a place within location 1 to add that link. We pointed out here in this list view, when you open the building or site, it's available a couple different places too. You'll notice it's once again available below the thumbnail picture, and then once again over on the images and attachments, the virtual tour here. This user, and I'm actually going to flip back over, I just wanted to show this viewer because I knew they had some virtual tours here. I'm going to flip back over to the first county organization that we were looking at. Once you have, and I'm in the buildings right now, I'm going to open one of their properties. So now I'm in a building. The layout is the same for all. What we do like to point out is make sure you get your contact information in there. We have a primary contact. You really should put a alternate in there too, just in case the primary's out of the office. And then, of course, if there is a broker or realtor involved, they have their section 2 to put their details in there. Within every building and site, and actually the community and counties, notice under the overview there is a print brochure, and I believe Vic and Dave pointed it out too. This is the PDF that they want populated. So this one is, they've done a pretty good job at getting their information in here. But we also have in the admin site, we actually have icons, special icons by every field in the buildings and sites to point out, hey, this is a printable flyer field. Please get this completed. So once again, this is a standard one-page brochure. The site will look a little bit different just because of the different fields. But once again, that is underneath the overview and print brochure. I should point out, too, it is available in that list view that I was initially at. So way over in the right, if you wanted to just get that print brochure, you don't have to open the record if you do not want to. Let me go back in here. Just to go over a few other things within the property record, I pointed out that print brochure, but one of the really great features about Location One are these Esri demographic reports. I think we've got about 13 right now. When you're in buildings and sites, you're going to notice there's 3 different sections. This first one is going off of that property's address. So now, since it's going off an address, you can actually do a radii report. So if you need to change these numbers, you can. And then at any time, I'll just go to maybe the market profile. You choose your report, you got your radii in there, click on Generate Report, and then it's going to bring up a PDF of that different radii too. These reports are very valuable. They're coming straight from Esri. I know we've had people ask if they could put their own logo on here, but Esri does not allow us to do that right now. They want to continue to make sure that people know that this is coming straight from them. And so definitely take a moment to look over these reports. Now the other 2 in here, same reports, but this would be for the county. And it's the county off of that property address. And then once again, same reports, but for that city or community. And then for the property details, I'm not going to go into each one of these, but definitely take some time to look it over, what fields are in here. And then every property, community and county, they have the ability to upload 12 images. You will have, if you have more than one, you'll have the arrow to do the next. And then, of course, the save image. Also, if you have other images, or excuse me, attachments like PDFs, PowerPoints, you do have the ability to upload them in this section. Now, I want to point out the My Properties cart that we briefly touched on. So the My Properties cart is similar to a shopping cart. This is where you can handpick buildings and sites and combine them. You'll see here in a few moments where you combine them to only display those on the map, pull only those reports for those areas. So if you're in a building or site, to add that to that My Properties, you simply go up to My Properties and click on the Add. Now, if you want to add other properties, you can continue searching, and it will save what you've already selected. If you're in the list view, notice there's this Add to My Properties. So you can actually click on the checkbox. Now, how to go and view only those properties is go back up to My Properties and click on View All. Now, you'll see the map, your map, with only those hand-selected, also below the map. Now, there's also a few options that you can do in this Properties cart. The first one is Export All to PDF. So now, you will have one PDF that includes those print brochures. The next one is Export All to Excel. And what this does is just a nice tool that you can easily display all the property fields in the Excel spreadsheet. The third one, I really like this one. This is Share My Property. So this allows you to email someone, either coworker, site selector, your prospect. You can, first, before doing this, if you wanted to add custom map layers, measurements to the map, go ahead and do it. But then you just add your name like you're sending a normal email and add your message. That person receiving this email, they'll receive your message and then a direct link to what you have here on the map and below the map. So it's just a really nice way to email off what you're doing, what you're searching. And then the last one, this is a fairly new feature, Export to RFI. This was created over a year ago for another state. And they came to us saying, hey, this is something we are really interested in having in Location One. Basically what it does it allows you, notice below there's two different tabs for the two buildings, but it puts it in a nice RFI format. For the fields that they have seen, they regularly have to respond to RFIs. So this is the RFI export, and it would put buildings first. If you have sites, the sites will follow. It does allow you to put your own logo on here too, and that is done through the admin site, where we can show you where that's at. And all these features are in the My Properties card. Now, one thing I do want to point out, I quickly went over before, I showed you how to share the email in the My Properties, but if you have a building or site and you want to just email that one property off to somebody, don't copy this link, because it won't get it. It will not be the correct link to share. Underneath that overview tab, and I knew I accidentally changed my link there, underneath the overview tab of buildings and sites, there is an option, and I'll get in here, is to share email link. So this is what you want to do. What will happen is it'll open a brand new email for you with that direct link to the property. So share that one. Don't ever copy what's up here, because they have this one in a frame, but many times it'll be just random letters and numbers, which is by design, but it'll probably work for a couple times, but by design it's not supposed to be the correct link to share. Before I go over to the admin site, I do want to point out this Community Profiles tab. So depending what territory you have, obviously the state has everything. They have state, county, locality. You may choose to just hide this section too. That's an option at this point. I'm not going to go into a lot of details with this, because what we're going to be doing, it's really going to make a lot of people happy. With our new location 1, this community profiles is going to be all redesigned, because we are going to be adding as much pre-populated demographics as possible. So once I get through the admin site, I'm going to show you the layout. We're going to have charts, tables. It's going to be really helpful. So you can still continue to add some supplemental data in here if you want to add, some more information on your location or business climate. But when you're having to research numbers, we're going to try to get as much that we can for all our users. Now, before I switch over to the admin site, do we have any other questions right now?
There are currently 4 questions out there, and I think Ken might have wanted to ask, but I guess I can go ahead and
Yes, I
Okay.
didn't realize muted there. Here are a few questions. If you have 5,000 features, can you add them all at one time?
Is this related to the custom map layers, or?
I'm thinking this would be from a fairly big municipality.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this is what we were referencing back into the custom
It is.
layers.
It is.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, you definitely can. You don't want to overwhelm the map, but definitely, how about they give me a call? We can see what they want to display and really dig into how it should be created so it looks nicely on the map.
Very good. And we had another one. I believe you mentioned LOIS is available for municipalities and economic development groups. Are there some that would not be allowed, like a possible realtor, or is it?
Yeah, and realtors and Dave, and we've worked with realtors before. Normally, I would go to the state and ask. The state would have to work with the community to confirm that that community wants a realtor to enter properties for that area. It goes back on the state and the communities if they want them to have it. And how realtor accounts work is we would set up their own username and password. they would only be able to access what they enter. So they would not be able to access any other realtors' properties or anything entered at the local economic development office. So their properties would flow straight to the LOIS viewers. The one thing with that, though, we got to make sure, though, that the ED offices know, though, that they cannot edit those realtors' properties. So it's kind of an understanding of who wants to be responsible.
Okay.
So we will do that if they wish to go that route.
And we had another question that relates to that. Who enters site data, and how do you prevent duplication?
Mm-hmm. And that is also, I mean, if you're overlapping responsibilities, if you're a local, county, regional, you definitely need to get together and decide who is managing this community's properties. And Dave probably will back me up, but there's usually not a lot of fighting over who's going to manage it, but just really come to that understanding, because you don't want two people thinking they're both doing it and overriding the other's work. So definitely need to have communication and who's responsible for what.
Okay, and to catch us up on the questions, is there a size limit for drone image files?
No, because normally it is, we don't usually upload it to our server. It's usually a direct link, like the one said. So as long as it's, out on maybe YouTube, or I can't remember where that one was. It's just we add the actual link into a field in location one, so we're not actually uploading that file.
Very good. Thank you. That catches us up on the questions that I see.
All right. Well, I'm going to just quickly touch on the admin site. I know we're getting close to time, and then just show a few screenshots of our new LOIS. If you are been using LOIS, or if you're new to LOIS, to log into the admin site where to enter your building sites, even community data, just go to location one. This site will be changing too. This will be a brand new website in the spring, just so you know what things will be changing. But we'll have lots of announcements, lots of trainings when that comes on. In the upper right, you click on Admin Login, and then you will get to this screen. And for today, I'll just use this profile. When you first log in, this is just a basic dashboard. It should have your contact information in here. If you have multiple people that want to be updated on location one, because we send training announcements by pulling emails from this section, please click on this edit icon and add, there's no limit, add as many as you want. Click on plus contact and add their contact information in here. Anytime you're working in location one and want to get back to the home page, just click on the LOIS logo in the upper left. Just a few things. I'm just going to go over this real quick, this page, but this is just a little quick view of what's going on in this property. And this is a utility, so there's a, they have a large territory of properties in here. But what I want to show you today is buildings and sites. If you want to enter your properties, there's two ways. Manually, which is going into this building section or into the site, and clicking on the plus building link. So this is to add a brand new record. And there'll be some basic information that you have to complete. It's very few fields. But what the state wants you to complete are these fields. So anything with that orange printable flyer icon, please try to complete that, because these are the fields that go into that one-page print brochure. So we've highlighted them all there. I should point out, too, we have a nice little tool. If you notice that this little warning, these are little warning or helpful guides, we say. If you notice this little orange printable flyer flag is displaying on the right of your properties, that means some of your fields are incomplete. But what is nice is you can actually click on it, and it will tell you what is not completed. So that's a helpful guide to quickly find what you need to update. So that to add a building or site, if you're in sites, it would look like plus site. You click on that. Now, if you want to edit an existing property, you go over on the left and click on the edit icon. Then that opens that property record. And we have it designed, you'll notice all these different tabs, they're a drop down so you can get into more information. Notice at the top it says building active. That means it's actively for sale or for lease. If your property is sold or leased, don't delete it. We really encourage you to just switch it to inactive because it may come up on the market someday and you won't have to re-enter everything. But anytime you make a change to any field, make sure you go down and click on Save. Also, earlier we talked about the Google Street View and maybe if it wasn't in the correct location. This is the area, the map on the overview page, where you can actually see if this is correct. So if you click your Google guy on the map marker, you can see what kind of view it is. And it's not liking me. See, I think I'm too far away from the road. So I would encourage that you bring the map marker, and I'm not going to hurt anything here. You actually bring it to the road where the Google can view it. He's having a hard time viewing it right now. So this might be actually out in an area where Google hasn't been. But if you know what the latitude and longitude is too, just enter it there. Also, we talked about that drone footage. So this is where you would add that direct link of where your virtual tour or your drone coverage is stored. So you don't actually upload that file. And once again, to find any field, just go into the specific tab and go to the correct section. A couple things we like to point out is way down at the bottom is that contact information. Make sure your primary contact information is in here, the alternate, and then that broker information again. In the images, you can upload up to 12 files. So it's either JPEG, and we put the information at the bottom, JPEG, GIFs, or PNGs. And then if you have PowerPoints or PDFs, you can upload them at the bottom. Your community information, this is the section, I'm not going to go into this just based on time, but this is where you can edit your communities. Some of the tools, one thing we like to point out, and definitely call me if you've never used this tool, but is this data exchange tool. This allows you to export all your active and inactive buildings and sites. And what is really nice about that is it puts it into a nice spreadsheet, buildings in one tab, sites in another, but you can see what information is missing. You can easily make changes to that spreadsheet and then import it back into location one. But I would be happy to go over that with anyone at another time. Also, that mapping, just to highlight where this is, if you have custom map layers that you want to upload, I'd be happy to walk you through it, but it's under the tools mapping section. And then you'll see here's the tabs 1 through 10 where you can upload those custom map layers. And then the last thing I want to point out here is custom links. Besides landing on your basic buildings and sites links, I'm going to highlight this user here, you can add a custom link. So they've created a special link to just display their certified sites. And how we do that, I'm going to jump back over, is underneath the custom links tool, what is opened is this is basically the property search panel. So you can create a custom link for buildings or sites and get real detailed if there's certain type of maybe data centers you want to highlight on your website, have a special link to data centers, you can create a link for that. But definitely give me a call or send me an email and I'll be happy to walk you through that. Now, the last thing before I answer any other questions, I just want to point out, I wanted to share a few of our new views of the location one. And these are very, very early designs. I mean, these are probably about 2 months old. I'm actually meeting with them this afternoon to go over it. Oh, then I went way too far. Apologize for that. But these were just previews, and they're actually in the programming mode right now. But we're going to be releasing a new responsive public viewer and admin site. And what responsive means is you won't need our mobile app anymore. It will automatically change to what type of device. So you're using laptop, desktop, iPads, phone. You can use the admin site that way, and then our new viewer. But we're just going to have it. It's going to be a real nice, clean interface. Just very, very easy to use. We're very excited about releasing this, and this is what I think is going to make a lot of people happy. So this is going to be a layout of a property. I think this is a building view. We are going to try to provide as much demographic data as possible. And these fields aren't finalized yet. We're actually adding more. But you'll be able to switch over to a detailed view. But we're going to try to make everything as easy to find as possible. If fields are not completed, they will not display. I know we've gone back and forth on that for years. What should we do with that? But it'll be laid out very nicely. So if they don't have a lot of information populated, it won't be displayed as empty. This is the city of Des Moines. This is just kind of a preview of how it's going to look. But once again, we'll have charts, tables, stuff that you don't have to research. You can they'll continue to add supplemental data like this description and quality of life. You'll still be able to do that. But those are just some early views. We are planning to send out more information as they finalize a few more of the designs and specs, but wanted to share that. We're really excited about rolling that out in the spring. And with that, I better stop. So please let me know if there's any questions.
I'm going to jump in with a couple more. I know we're watching the time here. The transition to the new site criteria, how do you envision that? Will we have to re-enter data in sites, or will that just
roll over?
Limit it?
With our new website, everything will roll over, so you won't have to, you won't have to export it and re-add it, and everything will be moved over.
Great. And from a higher level, so the company from Germany that's looking for a site can either find it on a municipality's website or find it through the state DCO website.
Yes, that is correct. You can actually get it. Let me go back here. This kind of is our little diagram, but I know we have some utilities in Illinois using it too, using Location One. So yes, if they can search on the local, the county, if there's a regional group, possibly that utility. If they serve your area too, it would be there. And then of course the state, and then our national viewer on location1.com, and then our mobile, and of course our mobile app.
Very good. Any other questions, comments from anyone, from Vic or Dave or Amy? Okay. Well, at this time, I would like to thank all our great guest speakers today. Really appreciate everyone participating. And please feel free to contact us anytime with new topic ideas and suggestions. We'd like to provide what you need there. Next, Nancy is going to have a couple of questions for you, and then also close out the meeting with additional information. So thank you, everyone, and welcome, Nancy.
Thanks, Ken. I just put up a poll question for all of our participants today. Did this program increase your knowledge of LOIS and site selection in Illinois? So please take a little bit of time to select which answer sort of matches how the experience was for you and how much you learned today. And we really appreciate you all attending today. The number of attendants as well as the responses on the polls on this poll question will really help us to know how the webinars are rolling out for everybody and if we're on the right track. As well, you should feel free to email me or Ken, and also you can leave comments in the chat box. If you have any concerns about technical barriers with the webinar today, if you have suggestions on future content for local government education webinars, feel free to sound in the chat box or email me at esri@illinois.edu. I also want to include information about local government education webinars that we've already done in the past. Those are available on our website, and I've put that link in the chat box as well. And we're also going to have one more webinar that features a LOIS expert, and that's on December 8th. Her name is Cheryl Welch, and she'll present additional information on the site selection process. So I've put our LGE homepage also in the chat box, and you can check back at that link to be able to register for that in the next 1 to 2 business days. Also, all participants are going to receive an email, a follow-up email with information about the recording for today's webinar. The link will be in that email as well, and also information about future webinars, including the December 8th webinar. So again, thank you, and I'll turn it back to Ken. Thank you as well for the feedback on the poll.
Thank you, Nancy, and I believe that's it for this webinar today. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and we look forward to having you sign in at the next webinar.
And we had one additional question about Amy's contact information, and Amy, if you have that, I can get it into the chat box. I can also include it on the follow-up email when we give the recording.
Yeah, let me put it over. I can type it in there right now.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for participating, and we look forward to having you at the next webinar. We're going to close out for today.